Hello again everyone, I'm Dominican Youth, and in this video I'm going to talk about countries open for tourism now. As you know, with the pandemic winding down and with the summer season upon us, people are looking to travel. They're looking for places to go to. And in this video I'm going to break down some countries you can travel to that has different restrictions on travel. There are currently over 75 countries that are open for tourism today. However, most of those countries require a negative PCR test for entry. There are some that you don't have to show that. There are some that all you need is proof of vaccination. And the reason why that is important is because some are asking, well, if I'm vaccinated, do I still need to show proof of a negative PCR test? Well, it depends on where you travel to. And in this video, we'll talk about some of those countries that you can travel to without showing a negative PCR test. However, you will need proof of vaccination. So, before I get into that, I want to do the YouTube thing. I want to ask you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so, as it helps to grow the channel. And if you have subscribed to the channel already, please smash the like button, as it helps get more eyes on the video. So without further ado, here are 24 countries you can travel to with only proof of vaccination. You don't need a negative PCR test. Our first country is Albania. Albania is a southern European country that you can enter without a negative PCR test or proof of vaccination. Actually, the only requirement is that you observe the protocols, which is social distancing, hand sanitization, and use of the mask. But currently you can enter Albania without a negative PCR test, and it's a good country to check out. It's not a country that is high on the tourist list, but I've heard a lot of people saying good things about Albania. Our next country is the British Virgin Islands. No negative PCR test is required. All you'll need is just proof of vaccination if you're vaccinated. Our third country is the Eastern European country of Bulgaria. No negative PCR test required if you're fully vaccinated and you can show proof of it. However, if you're not fully vaccinated, then you'll have to do a negative PCR test. Our next country is Colombia. No negative PCR test is required or proof of vaccination. Provided you have your travel documents, you can go to Colombia without any of those health documents. Our fifth country is Costa Rica. Costa Rica is the same. No negative PCR test is required or proof of vaccination. Provided you have your travel documents, your correct travel documents, you can travel to Costa Rica now. Our next country is Denmark, the Western European or Scandinavian country of Denmark. No negative PCR test is required if you are fully vaccinated, and you can show proof of that. Our next country is the Dominican Republic. A lot of people's favorite. A lot of people are very, very happy to visit the Dominican Republic. No negative PCR test if you are fully vaccinated. So if you can show proof that you're fully vaccinated, then Dominican Republic is open to you. Our eighth country is France, another country that receives a lot of tourism every year. France is one of the most visited countries in the world. France is open. You will need proof of vaccination, and if you cannot provide proof of vaccination, then you'll need a negative PCR test. Our next country is the country of Georgia. Yes, you heard that right, not the state of Georgia. The country of Georgia. No negative PCR test is required if you can provide proof of vaccination. Our 10th country is Germany. No negative PCR test if you're fully vaccinated and you can provide proof of it. And Germany is another very visited country as well. There's lots to see in Germany. Greece, a European country of Greece, is our 11th country. No negative PCR test is required if you can provide proof of vaccination. And we're talking about, the pandemic vaccination. Number 13, Ireland. No negative PCR test is required if you can provide proof of vaccination. However, currently the Irish government is recommending that you do not travel unless it's essential. Non-essential travel is not recommended. 14th country is Israel. No negative PCR test is required if you can show proof of vaccination, but you must obtain a permit from the Israeli government to go to Israel. Our next country is Mexico. Mexico does not require a negative PCR test or proof of vaccination at this time, provided you have all your documents to travel to Mexico. You're free to go. Our 16th country is Moldova. No negative PCR test is required if you're fully vaccinated and you can provide proof of it. Our next country is North Macedonia. Here's another country that has no requirements at this time for tourism. You don't need a negative PCR test and you don't need to provide proof of vaccination. The only thing is that you would be required to follow recommendations for social distancing, hand sanitizations, and wearing your mask. Our next country is Puerto Rico. No negative PCR test is required if you're vaccinated, and you would need to upload proof of vaccination to the tourist board website. Our next country is Romania, the Eastern European country of Romania. No negative PCR test is required, but you will face quarantine requirements. However, if you're vaccinated, you don't need to quarantine. So in other words, Romania is not requiring a negative test right now, or even vaccination. If you have none of those things, then you'll have to abide by the quarantine regulations. However, if you're vaccinated, then you do not have to quarantine. Our next country is Seychelles. And Seychelles is an island on the coast or off the coast of East Africa. And I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correct. It could be Seychelles, but I've heard it pronounced both ways, Seychelles or Seychelles. No negative PCR test is required if you're fully vaccinated. Our next country is Spain. No negative PCR test required if you're fully vaccinated. Spain is another very heavily visited country. Barcelona, Madrid, Valencia are some of the cities that you could visit in Spain. Our next country is Sri Lanka. No negative PCR test is required if you're vaccinated and you can provide proof of it. And our final country is St. Kitts. You can visit St. Kitts only if you're fully vaccinated. And there's a caveat to that. If someone under the age of 18 is visiting and they have someone that is fully vaccinated with them, and person over the age of 18 that is fully vaccinated with them, then they can visit without being fully vaccinated. So there you have it, everyone. Those are the 24 countries that you can visit with just your proof of vaccination. And the reason why that is important is because even though other countries are accepting vaccination as well, or they want people to get vaccinated, or they're looking at your vaccination as a reason or some sort of documentation to say that you can enter the country, a lot of them are still requiring a negative PCR test to enter. So be very vigilant, be very careful. If you're going to travel, make sure that you read up on it. Make sure that you really research what is required to enter the country and the quarantine requirements, because that can affect your stay if you decide to travel as well. If there are curfews, if there are lockdowns, how long those lockdowns are going to be, how long the curfews are going to be as well. It's travel season. And we see where the airlines are trying to hire more people to deal with the demand of the travel season. We see where the amount of people traveling over the summer is projected to spike a lot. So we know that there's going to be a lot of traveling out there. So do your due diligence and look up the information, study it very well before you travel. Make sure you're staying healthy and have a good time traveling whenever you're traveling. So until next time, everyone, there is more to the world than where you live. Have a good day.